The last winter of the forgotten. Snow fell like ash over the valley, covering the scars of war with a cruel kind of beauty. The mountains stood silent, their peaks shrouded in fog and firelight. Beneath them, the 47th Battalion lay scattered, men once proud, now only shadows beneath the snow. Captain Rayan Idris pressed his trembling hand against the frozen ground. The earth was red beneath the frost, not from the cold, but from the men who had fallen hours before. His radio crackled softly, a broken voice repeating the same words over and over, "Hold the line, for as long as you can." There were no lines left to hold. Only ghosts. The battle had raged for 3 days and nights. Ammunition was gone, rations were ice, and hope had frozen long before the snow did. Yet Rayan refused to retreat. He looked to his men, 20 survivors from a company of 200. Their faces were gray, their eyes hollow. But when he whispered, "We stay until dawn," no one argued. Private Sammy, barely 20, clutched his rifle with stiff fingers. "Sir," he asked quietly, "will anyone come for us?" Rayan stared into the white storm. "Someone will remember us," he said. It was a lie, but a beautiful one, and sometimes that was enough to keep a man breathing. The sound of distant artillery rolled like thunder across the valley. Every explosion echoed through their bones. Each man thought of home, mothers, brothers, wives, faces fading like photographs left too long in the rain. Inside a shattered cabin, they found shelter. The roof leaked snow, and the wind whistled through the cracks. Rayan ordered them to rest. While the others slept, he sat by the dying fire and opened a blood-stained notebook, his field journal. Day 92 of the campaign, he wrote. "The cold eats faster than the bullets. I can still hear my men laughing from the first day we arrived. Now only their rifles answer me." He turned the page and found a letter, half-written, for his wife, Amina. "If this reaches you, tell our son I fought for him. Not for land, not for power, for the chance that he might never see war." He closed it quickly, afraid the tears would freeze before they reached his cheeks. By morning, the fog lifted enough to reveal movement in the distance, dark figures advancing through the snow. The enemy. Hundreds of them. Rayan loaded his last magazine and gave the signal. "No retreat," he said simply. The men nodded, forming a ragged line behind a barricade of broken trucks and sandbags. The first shots cracked through the morning stillness. Echoes bounced off the cliffs, mingling with the cries of pain and defiance. Sammy shouted, "Sir, they're surrounding us." "Then we fight in every direction," Rayan answered. One by one, they fell. Not like heroes in stories, but like men, tired and cold, who simply refused to kneel. The snow turned red again. Rayan was hit in the shoulder but stayed on his feet. He felt no pain, only the heat of purpose burning inside him. He threw a grenade into the advancing line, shouting, "This is our home, even if it's our grave." The explosion silenced the mountain for a moment. Then came the storm of bullets again. Hours passed. The sun disappeared behind gray clouds. Only 2 men remained, Rayan and Sammy. The rest were gone, buried beneath snow and smoke. Sammy crawled beside the captain, his breath shallow. "Sir, we can still run through the woods." "Maybe we can," Rayan shook his head. "If we run, we lose the valley. If we stay, maybe they'll remember our names." He took out a torn piece of cloth, the battalion flag. Once bright red, now dull and stiff from blood and frost. He handed it to Sammy. "Hold this. As long as it stands, we're not gone." Sammy tried to smile, but his lips were blue. "Yes, sir." When the enemy finally overran the hill, they found Sammy standing upright, the flag planted beside him. His body was frozen, his eyes open, still guarding the valley. Rayan lay behind him, a faint smile on his face, his hand resting on his journal. When reinforcements finally arrived 2 days later, the valley was silent. They found the 47th Battalion gone, their positions untouched, rifles in the snow, helmets turned upward like prayers. A lieutenant from the relief unit picked up Rayan's notebook. The last page was written in shaking letters, "If courage means dying with your brothers, then fear must be living without them. Tell our children the snow remembers our names." The lieutenant closed the book and saluted the fallen. "You're home now, Captain," he whispered. The bodies were buried beneath the frost. The flag was raised on a steel pole at the valley's center. It fluttered weakly in the wind, red against the white, a heartbeat in a land of silence. A decade passed. The war ended, the world moved on, and few remembered the name of the valley. But one man did, a boy named Yusuf, Rayan's son. Now a soldier himself, he stood on the same frozen ground where his father had fallen. The wind howled around him as he placed a new flag beside the old, faded one. "You said the snow remembers, father," he whispered. "But I came to remind it again." He knelt, brushing frost from the monument that bore 20 names, names of men who had no graves, only memories carved into the mountain. Yusuf opened his own journal and wrote, "War doesn't end when the guns fall silent. It ends when we forgive ourselves for surviving." He left the notebook beside his father's, bound by the same thread, carried by the same wind. That night, as a storm rolled in, travelers passing through the valley swore they heard voices in the wind, laughter, commands, gunfire fading into whispers. No one could prove it, but some said that on the coldest nights, the ghosts of the 47th Battalion still stood watch, guarding the land they could not leave behind. And when dawn broke, the snow glowed faintly red, as if the earth itself remembered their courage. Years later, historians would call it the Battle of the Forgotten. No one truly won. No territory changed hands. But something unspoken lived on, the idea that even in defeat, honor survives. Amina, now an old woman, received Rayan's final letter, delayed for more than a decade. She opened it with trembling hands. "If this reaches you, know that I kept my promise. Our son will live free. And when the snow falls, tell him, I am home." She placed the letter beside a framed photograph of a young soldier smiling beneath a gray sky. Outside, the first snow of winter began to fall, gentle, endless, and silent. The world moved forward, but the valley stood still, a frozen prayer in the language of sacrifice.